22 movies for TIFF 22. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies. Today I'm going to be talking about my 22 most anticipated movies of this year's Toronto International Film Festival. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. As many of you already know, I received press accreditation for the Toronto International Film Festival again this year. Last year, I covered TIFF virtually, but this year I'm headed to Toronto to experience the festival in person for the first time. In fact, when this video publishes, I'll actually already be on the train to Toronto. There are a ton of films I'm excited for this year, so I figured I'd share 22 of my most anticipated TIFF 22 movies with you. So I'm hoping to see as many of these as I can while I'm up in Toronto. And others. It was tough to narrow this down to only 22 movies. With the way the schedule works out, there may be a few I don't get a chance to see, but I'll be bringing you reviews of the ones I do get to see over the coming days, weeks, and months. I'm not even going to try to rank these by anticipation, so we're just going to go through this list alphabetically. First up is The Banshees of Ana Sharon, directed by Martin McDonagh. So this one stars Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson as two lifelong friends who suddenly find themselves in conflict when one decides to end their friendship. This film's being billed as a very dark comedy drama, which isn't surprising given McDonagh's past films like In Bruges and most recently 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. This movie is actually a bit of a reunion, since, again, McDonagh directed In Bruges in 2008, which also starred Farrell and Gleeson. I've always kind of liked that movie, so I'm looking forward to checking this one out too. Next is Empire of Light, directed by Sam Mendes. This one's a romantic drama set in an old movie theater during the 80s, and stars Olivia Colman, Michael Wears, and Colin Firth. Like most movie fans, I love movies about movies, and this one seems like it's going to be one of those films everybody describes as a love letter to cinema. Probably a little cliche, but I tend to really like movies like that. Mendes is teaming up with cinematographer Roger Deakins again, as he did for 1917, so I anticipate a beautifully shot film, and Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are scoring it, so I think this will probably have a shot at quite a few awards come awards season. Continuing on is The Fabelmans, directed by Steven Spielberg. This is a semi-autobiographical coming-of-age drama that tells the story of a young aspiring filmmaker in the 50s. So, it's Spielberg. That alone has me excited, but again, it's another movie about movies and filmmaking. This isn't a typical Spielberg blockbuster, but rather a more introspective, personal story, and stars Gabriel LaBelle, Michelle Williams, Paul Dano, Seth Rogen, and features longtime collaborator John Williams composing the score. Next up is Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, directed by Rian Johnson. A sequel to 2019's Knives Out, this is another ensemble comedy mystery starring Daniel Craig, Edward Norton, Janelle Monáe, Kathryn Hahn, Leslie Odom Jr., and more. In classic Agatha Christie Hercule Poirot whodunit fashion, Daniel Craig returns as Benoit Blanc to take on another case with a whole new set of suspects. I love mysteries, and the first film was a fun, modern twist on the genre, so I'm really looking forward to the chance to see this one on the big screen before its Netflix release in December. Next is The Good Nurse, directed by Tobias Lindholm. This is a crime drama thriller based on a book, which itself was based on the true story of serial killer Charles Cullen. So this stars Jessica Chastain as an overwhelmed nurse who forges a friendship with a fellow nurse played by Eddie Redmayne. After patients begin to mysteriously die, an investigation is opened which reveals things about certain characters' pasts. I tend to like thrillers like this, so I think this is going to be a movie I end up enjoying. I also think Eddie Redmayne's inherent awkwardness and stiffness is going to make him pretty good as a creepy serial killer, so I'm looking forward to seeing this one. Continuing on, we've got The Greatest Beer Run Ever, directed by Peter Farrelly. This one's another movie based on a book, based on a true story, and is an action comedy starring Zac Efron, Russell Crowe, and Bill Murray. So this one tells the story of Chie Donahue, who, at the height of the Vietnam War, snuck into Vietnam to personally deliver American beer to his friends fighting in the war. This is one of those stories that just seems so unbelievable and ridiculous to have actually happened, but apparently it did. So the stories intrigued me, the cast looks good, and I tend to like movies set during the Vietnam War, largely due to their soundtracks, so I'm actually looking forward to this one. Next up is the appropriately named I Like Movies, directed by Chandler Levac. This one's a coming-of-age comedy drama set in the early 2000s. Like several other movies on this list, this is a movie about movies, and focuses on a movie-obsessed teenager who gets a job at a local video store in the hopes of paying for film school. This one's definitely not one of the big TIFF movies, but it seems like one that most cinephiles are going to be able to connect with. Next is Lenore Will Never Die, directed by Martika Ramirez Escobar. This one's a Filipino psychological comedy drama and is part of this year's Midnight Madness program. This film focuses on a retired screenwriter who falls into a coma after a freak accident, only to find herself the action hero of her unfinished screenplay. Since this is a Midnight Madness and not a horror movie, it's probably going to be pretty weird and surreal, but I think the premise sounds really interesting, so I'm excited to check it out. Up next, we've got The Menu, directed by Mark Mylod. This is a dark comedy horror film and stars Ralph Fiennes, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Nicholas Hoult. It centers on a couple who travel to a remote island to eat at a super exclusive restaurant that caters only to the extremely rich, and offers some shocking surprises. I have an idea of probably what those surprises are, but this still seems like a movie that's going to be right up my alley. Moving on, we've got Moving On, directed by Paul Weitz. This one's a comedy starring Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin as two estranged friends who, while attending the funeral of a third friend, decide to exact revenge on this friend's husband for wronging them decades before. This probably isn't going to be much of an awards contender or anything, but I like Fonda and Tomlin, and I like them together. I mean, 9 to 5 is an extremely funny movie to me, so I think this one could be a little fun. Changing gears a little, we've got My Policeman, directed by Michael Grandage. Based on the novel of the same name, this is a romantic drama starring Harry Styles, Emma Corrin, and David Dawson. Set in 1950s Britain, it tells the story of a young policeman who finds himself in a love triangle torn between his wife and a museum curator named Patrick. This movie's supposed to explore the relationships and secrets among all three of these characters, spanning a 40-year time period. Next up is Plan 75, directed by Chie Hayakawa. This one's a Japanese dystopian drama set in the near future and is about a program that encourages people over 75 to volunteer for euthanasia. So on the surface, this kind of seems like a sci-fi movie along the same lines as Logan's Run or something, but I suspect it's more of a poignant drama with touches of social commentary. Continuing on is Raymond and Ray, directed by Rodrigo Garcia. This one's a comedy drama starring Ewan McGregor and Ethan Hawke as estranged half-brothers who reunite for their father's funeral. Admittedly, this one has a pretty predictable sounding plot, but I'm curious to check it out, if only to see McGregor and Hawke in a movie together. And you never know with movies like this. Sometimes they can surprise you with some non-cheesy heart. Next up is Sydney, directed by Reginald Hudlin. This is the only documentary to make this list, and focuses on the life, films, and legacy of Sidney Poitier. These types of biographical documentaries can be a little hit or miss sometimes, but I really like Poitier and his films, so I'm willing to give this one a shot. It seems like this is going to be a mix of interviews, archival footage, and film clips, which I suspect will make for an engaging watch. Up next is The Son, directed by Florian Zeller. This one's a drama, and much like Zeller's The Father in 2020, is once again adapted from one of his own stage plays. This stars Hugh Jackman, Laura Dern, and Vanessa Kirby, and focuses on a teenager who goes to live with his father after his parents' divorce. I've never seen the play, and I'll admit that the plot doesn't jump out as particularly interesting to me, but I thought the same thing about The Father, and that ended up being such an impactful surprise, so I'm a little more hopeful for this than I otherwise might have been. Next, we've got The Swimmers, directed by Sally El Hassani. This is a drama based on the real-life story of refugees Yusra and Sarah Mardini, who fled Syria for a chance to compete in the 2016 Summer Olympics. It seems like this is going to be one of those amazing true story films that might end up being a little over-sentimental and dramatized, but it's still definitely one I'd like to check out before it hits Netflix in November. Continuing on, we've got Triangle of Sadness, directed by Reuben Ostlund. This one's a satirical dark comedy starring Harris Dickinson, Charles B. Dean, and Woody Harrelson. It follows a fashion model couple who embark on a luxury cruise only for the trip to not quite go as planned. So this one actually won the Palme d'Or at Cannes this year, so that's initially what got me interested in it, but I'm curious, because it definitely sounds like one of those movies that could come across a little obnoxious rather than satirically funny, but I guess we'll see. Moving along, we've got Weird, the Al Yankovic story, directed by Eric Appel. This is another film from this year's Midnight Madness program, and seems like a unique one. So, this is a biopic parody about Weird Al, starring Daniel Radcliffe. This was co-written and produced by Weird Al, so much like his music, this will presumably parody the typical music biopic, which should be interesting, and fittingly, probably a little weird. Next up is Wendell and Wilde, directed by Henry Selick. This is a stop-motion fantasy horror comedy about two demons, voiced by Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele, who team up with a goth teenager in the land of the living. So this one sounds pretty wild, no pun intended. Great voice cast, weird and creepy plot, old-school stop-motion animation style, directed by Henry Selick, who did movies like The Nightmare Before Christmas and James and the Giant Peach and Coraline. It's headed to Netflix in October, but it'd be awesome to see this one on the big screen. Next, we've got The Whale, directed by Darren Aronofsky. So this is an A24 drama starring Brendan Fraser as an isolated 600-pound man trying to reconnect with his estranged teenage daughter. To be perfectly honest, I think this movie could go either way for me. A24 tends to be very hit or miss for me, and I can't say that I've ever actually enjoyed an Aronofsky film, but I'm in it for Brendan Fraser. I've always liked him and would love to see him have a comeback, which I think this film could kick off. Up next is Women Talking, directed by Sarah Pauley. Based on the novel of the same name, this is a drama about a group of women in an isolated religious colony who, after years of sexual assaults by the men of the colony, hold a secret meeting to decide what should be done. This seems like it's going to be one of the heavier, more dramatic films on my TIFF shortlist this year, but I think it's going to be an impactful one. Plus, it's got quite the ensemble cast, starring Jessie Buckley, Claire Foy, Rooney Mara, Frances McDormand, and more. Rounding things out, we've got The Wonder, directed by Sebastian Lelio. Based on the novel of the same name, this is a drama set in 1859 about a nurse who's sent to investigate a case involving an 11-year-old who supposedly had not eaten for months. I suspect there's probably a bit more to the story, and it's likely a fairly character-driven film like Lelio's other movies. But I really enjoyed Disobedience, and I like Florence Pugh, so I'm looking forward to checking this one out. Alright, so there you have it, 22 of my most anticipated movies of TIFF 22. Which TIFF films are you looking forward to this year? Which ones would you like to see me review? Be sure to post your picks and thoughts in the comments below. Remember, I'll be reviewing as many of these movies as I can, so be on the lookout for those videos for some more in-depth discussion of each, as well as my ratings, pros and cons, and even tailored film recommendations. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this TIFF list, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this, as well as movie reviews. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.